you might not be suicidal, but often we don't remember in an embodied way what we care about. I mean, when you think about today, how much of today was there some sense, okay, here's what really matters to me? And how much of today were your thoughts, your actions, your attention aligned with what really mattered? Not to judge, but just a sense. Last year, a friend of mine was upset and anxious, and it was just because she had spent a long time with this research project, and she wanted to get it published in a top journal, and she was feeling like the chances were rather slim after all this work she'd put in. And so her hope was fixated hope, right? That's egoic hope. Fine, so we worked with it a little, and I asked her, and this is going to show us a little bit of how you can move from egoic hope to something larger, okay? So I asked her, what is so important or meaningful about getting your work published in this journal? And she says, well, it'll help validate the whole protocol for trauma. It'll make it available to a lot more people. And I said, yeah, that's a really good thing. And what's really important about that? She says, well, it means that more people will be healed. And I said, so what's going on is that your aspiration is healing. You want to serve healing. And she said, yeah. And I said, so what does it feel like to feel that you care about that's what you long for? You really want to serve healing. People getting out of that trance where they're disconnected and isolated and so on. And she could feel a shift in her body and an opening. And I said, so if you stay with that and then sense this process of getting your journal, get the journal reviewing your article and so on, can you sense any difference in how you're holding that? And as you can imagine, of course she did. In Shane Lopez's book on hope, he talks about how people that are really hopeful and have these aspirations and so on, there's a lot of different pathways to going for what they want. And if one doesn't work, there's flexibility. They're held lightly. This is non-grasping. Because there's some basic hope or trust on how things work out. And that comes when we stay right with the very essence of what we care about. If we care about healing and one route doesn't work, we still care about healing, and there's still energy, and there's incredible possibility in a creative way on how we can take another step. Okay, so number one, the first piece that we're talking about tonight about holy hope is to connect energetically with the essence of our aspiration. And we're going to practice this. We're going to close with a brief practice on this. The second, trust. Okay, so what is trust? Well, for her, the trust came when she reconnected with the caring and realized that the essence of what she was longing for was kind of embedded in that if she felt that caring, that was part of the healing. There is a phrase, you can only get there from here. And this is a phrase that Shane Lopez likes and used from another person, and it's very much in the Buddhist tradition, that the starting place, we start right where we are. And the trust comes with the sense that whatever we're wanting, just start right here. The way to what we want is in the here-ness, in what's right here in our bodies, aliveness. What's right here in our hearts. What's right here in our awareness. So again, there's a sense that everything that's happening right here is part of the path and can serve it if we're open to possibility, if we trust that. Great example from our culture is a reporter asks a bank president who's very well known in the business world, what's the secret of your success? And the response is 2 words. Okay, what are they? Right decisions. Well, how do you make the right decisions? 1 word. Yes, sir, so what is that? Experience. Sir, how do you get experience? 2 words. And what does that serve? Wrong decisions, you know. but you get it, right? It's like if there's trust, if we trust what's right here, it becomes a portal to whatever we're wanting to. If we belong to the moment, it'll take us to what we long for. So the metaphor again is the oak and the acorn. That the acorn has this urge to become an oak, and its oakness is already there. If we tap into our oakness, we tap into what we want to manifest, that helps it to manifest. Thoreau says this: though I do not believe that a plant will spring up where no seed has been, I have great faith in a seed. Convince me that you have a seed there, and I am prepared to expect wonders. So what builds trust for us? How do we start trusting the seed is here? In the story of the samurai, the trust got perked because he had a direct experience of loving presence, right? That was what the monk showed. Anytime we touch heaven, we touch the aliveness of the present moment, we have a gesture of kindness and feel just a little softening and opening. Anytime we feel another's kindness, anytime we sense that kind of presence that realizes, oh, I'm aware right now. There's an awareness that's bigger than the fixation of the moment. We're touching heaven. There's a little more trust that builds up. This is why we meditate, so that we can quiet the thoughts and begin to touch that aliveness, that flow of love and awareness that gives us trust, that the entry's right here. We get there, whatever we think we're longing for, by coming right here. Okay, so that is the second piece. We have this longing, the aspiration, and then we have the trust that you start right here. The seed's right here. Third piece, dedicating our energy. And this is key, because hope's not passive. Hope is not some sense of, oh, I hope that someday such and such. Hope is this engaged process. And so trusting that it's already here and the seed's right here enables us to actually get active. And we begin to sense, well, what are the pathways? I mean, my big question to myself, and I think many of us have this where we keep posing a question to ourselves, is, what will serve awakening in this moment? So the longing is for awakening. The trust is that it can only happen right here. And then the inquiry, the active inquiry, what will serve this moment? And for me, the energy that I dedicate usually comes by pausing. And in a very active and receptive way, feeling just what's going on right here. Now let's say you decide that your longing is for more love in your life. Then the question is, well, what will serve that? And you may decide to, I tell a story about a woman who had cancer and only a short time to live, and her mantra was, there's no time to rush. So maybe that will be your way of dedicating, to create more space and time with the people you care about. For you, it might be that what your aspiration is to heal the larger body of this earth. We have this idea that the earth is something else. Well, this aspiration to manifest what we are means manifesting, letting the larger body of this earth find some healing. So then we ask that question, what this moment will help that? And what are the pathways that can grow out of that, where we can be part of making a difference? Einstein, as I start in the beginning, said that this question is this universe a friendly place? If we have some sense of this hopefulness, that there's some goodness in what's unfolding, if we have some aspiration to help that manifest, if we trust that it begins right here, and if we can just give ourselves to it. I want to read you the rest of this quote. He says, he asks the question, is the universe a friendly place? And then he says, for if we decide that the universe is an unfriendly place, then we will use our technology, our scientific discoveries, and our natural resources to destroy all that which is unfriendly. If we decide the universe is neither friendly nor unfriendly, and that God essentially is playing dice with the universe, then we are simply victims to the random toss of dice, and our lives have no real meaning or purpose. But if we decide that the universe is a friendly place, then we will use our technology, our scientific discoveries, our natural resources to create tools and models for understanding that universe. Because power and safety will come through understanding its workings and its motives. God does not play dice with the universe. So we begin in this third part, this dedication to ask what will serve what we long for. And often it's going to be presence. It's going to be paying deeper attention. It's going to be connecting with other people. It's going to be taking a chance. A story for you back to the New Yorker article of how this unfolded, these 3 elements unfolded of hope for one young man. I mentioned that some of those who he worked with are suicidal were shut-ins. Well, he, for about 7 years, this monk, his name is Nomoto, he had a website, and it was designed so people who were feeling suicidal could communicate with other people, because one of the big findings that we all intuitively know is that once we get into relationship, we're re-entering a flow in some way, and we begin to activate hope. So he had people in contact with each other, and he made himself utterly available, so available that he was overwhelmed with phone calls and emails, and he responded to everybody that reached out to him. And he'd have some calls that would come, people would kind of like be inarticulate and fumbling and circling around, then they'd call him back, and he felt like people were spinning, but in some way the contact gave them a lifeline. But after 7 years, Nomoto became really sick, like really, really sick, ended up in a hospital. He started letting people know he couldn't keep up with the emails and the phone calls, which really upset people because they kind of said, well, we're sick too, we need you, which really shocked him. But when he found his way to healing, he found he needed to be taking better care of himself. He knew he still wanted to completely engage with people who had lost hope, because he found it's such an amazing creative venture to sense how people could go from hopeless to sensing possibility. But he knew how to do it differently. So here's what he did. He basically said, if you want to work with me, fine, but you have to come to my temple. And his temple was really pretty remote. So people had to really make this pilgrimage to his temple, but he basically figured that if they didn't care enough to make the pilgrimage, they weren't going to be helped, really. Okay? So, story of one man, suicidal, and a lock-in. He heard about Nomoto and about his glow, his wisdom. So just hearing about him, being in that field of hearing about him, awakened some sense of yearning, some aspiration. Well, maybe I can, aspiration means you have some hope. So maybe I can re-enter life. So he wanted to work with him. He wanted to have him guide him. So he decided to walk all the way, and it took 5 hours. Now remember, he was a shut-in, which means he hadn't been outside, he hadn't been experienced weather, he hadn't moved his body for a long time. Okay, so he starts this walk, and he knows in some way he wants to climb out of the depth of, he's like dead inside. So there he is in the sun, and he's walking, and he's sweating, and he's feeling his body move, and he's trying to sense, well, what am I going to say? I haven't talked to anybody for a really long time, but he's taking another step, and sweating, and moving. And with every mile, he realized he was feeling lighter and freer. And when he arrived, he told this monk that he had already achieved understanding, and he no longer needed his help. And he turned around, and he walked home. So what happened there? I mean, to me, this is like, I had tears when I read this story because there's something in what's possible for all of us. And I think I'll probably next week be exploring what happens when we really feel hopeless, and how come some of us have more hope than others, and how do we pull out in a more specific way. But there's something in this story that he recognized what he wanted. And how did he recognize it? Well, somebody else had it a bit. It's contagious. Hope is contagious. If you can put yourself in a field where other people are hopeful, have a sense of possibility, we're in a field together, we affect each other, it'll start to wake up. So just being in some way in the field with Nomoto and hearing about him woke up that yearning. And then so he had that, and he had some sense that, okay, there's a possibility, it's here. And then he put his energy out, he dedicated himself, he moved, he took a step. You have to take a step to activate the hope. You have to take a step. And he sensed the answer. How? His body came alive. You don't find hope by thinking about it. You don't find hope by fantasizing. You don't find hope by controlling things. You find hope by sensing, okay, it's right here in this moment, this step, feeling for him the flow of aliveness of his body. We have to re-enter the flow because hope is in the flow of life and in the flow of presence. This is Barbara Kingsolver. She says, here's what I've decided. The very least you can do in your life is figure out what you hope for. And the most you can do is live inside that hope. Not admire it from a distance, but live right in it, under its roof. What I want is so simple, I almost can't say it. Elementary kindness. What I want is so simple, I almost can't say it. Elementary kindness. So let's just practice a little. Let's tune in a bit. So when we explore hope, the basic understanding is when our hope comes from the ego's wants and fears, it actually cuts us off from the very source of true hope. It does cut us off from the presence that gives rise to a true sense of what's possible. So we begin with the simplicity of reflecting on what matters to us. And you might bring, in the same way as that exercise that Nomoto did in his workshop, you might just imagine if you had a month to live. Okay, so what would you do? What would really matter to you? What if you had a week? How would you live your week? What would be the quality of heart-mind that you'd want? Quality of relating? What would matter to you in that week? You have a few hours. What matters, and how would it feel if what mattered was really what mattered to you really was right there. You're touching it. Can you sense how the seeds of what matters are right here? King Solver says the most you can do is live inside that hope. Not admire it from a distance, but live right in it, under its roof. What happens if you live inside it? Just feel it from the inside out, the love or the awakeness or the connection or whatever it is that most matters. Just become it. Be it. And with the sense of, okay, so we're all going to die, and you sense that aspiration, but sense your life right here and now, tonight, tomorrow, and feel the dedication, that sincerity towards whatever will serve what matters to you most. What will serve it? How will what matters to you come alive or manifest tonight when you leave this room, perhaps? Tomorrow, how will it manifest? What's possible? What's your vision? And just sense who you are when you're really feeling the sincerity of your aspiration, that trust that it's here to unfold. Who are you? What's your sense of your own beingness right now? What's your sense of possibility and how you express that beingness? Possibility with other people, possibility with the earth, with movement, with work, with life. Good. Let the sound be a reminder right here, right now. Namaste and blessings. Thank you.